Satire mtwana mama sisonke. We are one in Africa.
Ladies and gentlemen, in a world overflowing with global noise, diplomatic tantrums, and self-appointed superpowers suffering from chronic delusions, President Cyril Ramaphosa stepped up and delivered an address that reminded the world what leadership actually looks like. Not the chest-thumping theatrics of declining empires, not the Twitter-fueled rants of orange-tinted populists, and certainly not the international blunders of countries that confuse world maps with McDonald's drive-through lanes. No, this was a calm, deliberate, masterfully stitched message about a successful G20 that South Africa hosted with class, unity, and a spirit of Ubuntu that no algorithm, no military budget, and certainly no Trump rally could ever replicate. Before I continue, Mzansi, I would like to thank you for your overwhelming support on our previous video, where we featured Kate Mahlala's appearance before the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee. You showed us love, you showed us support. Please continue showing the same support. And if you are not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? Aibo, I'm talking about you. Subscribe! Back to our story. Ramaphosa spoke about South Africans showing the world who we are. A people capable of warmth even in hardship. A nation that can host global leaders in every corner of the country with a dignity so striking that delegates from Japan, France, India, Germany, and the UN lined up like school children to praise us.
Commenting about our Ubuntu philosophy, one trade representative said, "In other countries, hospitality is a transaction. Here in South Africa, it feels like a tradition." A French delegate shared something profound when they said, "We came to discuss economic frameworks, but what we'll remember is how your people made us feel. That is not soft power, that is real power." Dr. Ebel concludes by saying, "This weekend, the world's most powerful people aren't talking about our GDP or our credit ratings. They are talking about our people. And that's a currency no economy can print." World leaders, diplomats, delegates, and observers have been sharing their own impressions online as well. The Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, said, "Thanks to the wonderful people of South Africa and the government of South Africa for organizing the summit." The Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva, praised South Africa's incredible hospitality. Germany's Chancellor Friedrich Merz posted, "In a difficult international environment, it is important to preserve the G20 as a forum for global coordination and to firmly integrate Africa. Thank you for your hospitality and ambitious presidency in these turbulent times."
Some said our smiles felt like family, others said our humanity was our real power, and many openly admitted that what they would remember most from the G20 wasn't the policies, but the people. South Africa delivered a G20 rooted in values. And while the world applauded, one nation stood out, not because it participated, not because it contributed, but because it sulked in the corner like a spoiled teenager refusing to attend a family gathering because someone didn't validate their latest conspiracy theory. The United States of America, the supposed leader of the free world, the self-declared global referee, simply didn't bother to show up. No diplomatic nuance, no grown-up explanation, just a flimsy excuse drenched in misinformation. that South Africa was committing genocide against Afrikaners and confiscating land from white people. A claim so absurd that not even Hollywood, the same industry that made movies about shark tornadoes, would produce such a script. This is the same America whose politicians genuinely believe Africa is one big country, who once asked if people in South Africa speak African, and who thought Ebola was a holiday destination until someone produced a map. And yet, this is the nation suddenly giving moral lectures about South Africa. The irony stretches so far it should qualify as a long-distance Olympic record. Ladies and gentlemen, the president was calm, collected, and diplomatic. Well, presidents are supposed to be like that. I'm not a president. Then, as if the world hadn't already overdosed on American confusion, Donald J. Trump, Commander-in-Chief of Misinformation, Custodian of Chaos, and part-time geography improviser, decided to insert himself into the conversation with the confidence of a man who has never read a briefing paper in his life. Trump proudly declared that South Africa would not be invited to the G20 in 2026, as if he personally owned the summit like a hotel suite in Mar-a-Lago. A man who thinks wind turbines cause cancer was suddenly issuing international exclusions. A man who once suggested nuking hurricanes was now rewriting diplomatic membership lists. A man who tried to buy Greenland was now telling sovereign states where they stand. The comedy writes itself. Trump repeated the same recycled falsehoods about genocide and land seizures, proving once again that he gets all his information from the darkest corners of Facebook groups filled with people who still think Obama was born in Kenya. And the United States, in one of its most spectacular global missteps, let misinformation guide its foreign policy. A country with mass shootings every week tried to lecture anyone about safety. A country whose police treat traffic stops like live fire missions accused South Africa of being dangerous. A country where school children wear bulletproof backpacks claimed to be experts in human rights. And a country drowning in its own divisions had the audacity to claim that South Africa, one of the founding members of the G20, somehow doesn't belong there. Meanwhile, President Ramaphosa, refusing to descend into the mud, responded with dignity. He acknowledged America's past solidarity, affirmed South Africa's unwavering membership, and invited dialogue.
All G20 members attended all the G20 related meetings throughout the year, except for one member country. It is regrettable that the United States of America, which is a founding member of the G20 and which takes over the presidency of the G20 from South Africa in 2026, chose not to participate in the G20 Leaders Summit and the final meetings leading up to that summit. It is even more unfortunate that the reasons the United States gave for its non-participation were based on baseless and false allegations that South Africa is perpetrating genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people. This is blatant misinformation about our country. A few days ago, President Donald Trump made a statement to the effect that South Africa would not be invited to participate in the G20 in the United States. He repeated untrue statements about genocide against Afrikaners and the confiscation of land from white people in our country. We must make it clear that South Africa is one of the founding members of the G20, and South Africa is therefore a member of the G20 in its own name and right. We will continue to participate as a full, active, and constructive member of the G20. Despite the challenges and misunderstandings that have arisen between South Africa and the United States, South Africa remains a firm and an unwavering friend of the American people. We recall the great solidarity movement in the United States that stood by our side in our struggle for democracy and freedom. We recall how the Bill of Rights in the United States Constitution inspired us as we wrote our own Constitution. We offer the people of the United States nothing but goodwill and friendship. We affirm our commitment to continue to engage in dialogue with the United States government and to do so with respect and with dignity as equal sovereign countries.
While the United States was acting like a jilted ex tossed out of a WhatsApp group, South Africa behaved like the adult in the room, full of toddlers fighting over crayons. Because while America skipped the G20 out of misinformation and Trump screamed from the sidelines like a spectator who doesn't understand the game, South Africa delivered a world-class summit that left leaders speaking more about our people than our politics. Ramaphosa thanked South Africans, every worker, every volunteer, every citizen who showed the world a version of this country that no propaganda machine can erase. The world witnessed a nation capable of unity, grace, and competence even in the middle of its internal challenges. And the United States witnessed itself being overshadowed by a country it didn't expect to shine so brightly on the global stage. America may have the loudest microphone, but South Africa had the loudest impact. Trump may have thrown his tantrum, but South Africa stood firm. And in the end, the world applauded the country that showed up, not the one that stayed home writing conspiracy theories in capital letters. South Africa proved its place. America exposed its insecurity. And Trump reminded everyone that while South Africa leads with Ubuntu, some nations lead with tantrums. When history records this moment, it will be clear. South Africa hosted the G20. The world recognized it. America missed it. And Trump misunderstood it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mzansi Roast, and we continue roasting leaders who think they are demigods. Subscribe, share, and flood our comment section with laughter and joy.